Would you be willing to wear a mic and let him record you?
Now?
If you want.
I have no problem at all. So what do you want to ask? Rubber pants time.
Live from the Talking Joe Studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and you are listening to Talking Joe, the G.I.JOE Comics podcast. You can find us at talkingjoe.co.uk. That's got all of the links to where we are across social media and broadcast platforms. Now, today we are bringing you more content from Joefest 2024. For this particular conversation, I was in the bar of the Marriott where I was talking to G.I. Joe illustrator Doug Hart, along with G.I. Joe fan Geoff Thornburg and Jason Murrell's son Alexander. And we just decided to turn on the mics and record the chat as it happened. So that's why you can hear some little background chit-chatter as we're talking. So for those that don't know, Doug Hart joined Hasbro in 1984 as an illustrator, initially working on My Little Pony, where he was particularly proud of the work that he did on the pony Rumps. He was called to serve the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero brand in 1987 and painted beautiful figure art and box art until the end of the line in 1994 and went on to work on other things such as Transformers Beast Wars. He was at Joefest 2024, where his art was being showcased for the G.I.JOE Omnibus from 3D Joes, as well as his modern work on the card art for the O-Ring figures from Callsign Longbow, Operation Recall, and Skeletron. So I'll just hand over back to myself in the bar at the Marriott, where you join us as we were talking about one of the pieces that Doug had just been working on, which was Clanker Tank, the military man and the giant Galapagos turtle for Operation Recall.
Can I start with Tank? Have you ever looked at
Tank? Yeah.
Huh?
So Operation Recall, Tank is the guy. Is it Clanker and Tank? Which is which?
And Tank. I can show you exactly what I did. You want me to? Can I show you? From my phone?
I'm not recording video, but I can.
I'm sorry.
I can pull up the picture.
Tell people to go on. Where would you go on?
Recall. It's on the Operation Recall Facebook group.
Recall. But yeah. Clanker and Tank. I'll tell you how I did that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Tank, and I think I mentioned it yesterday. How I animated it, and of course Mark Pennington, he just here, and he designed it, which is like incredible, absolutely. So how I did it, and
favorite painting.
It is. It was so much fun, and
it's also his most recent painting. Oh my God, you're recording.
Anyway, so I was saying how I did Tank, and about airbrushing. Here's another trick about airbrushing that I came up with myself.
Yeah.
And it's like when people first start, they use frisket paper. Frisket paper. It's a very sticky, thin paper where you have to cut around.
Okay, yeah.
To mask out.
Masking.
Okay. All right, now let me give you a trick. What I do. And I invented this myself. And reason is I ended up getting my own copier, so I didn't have to jump up all the time at Hasbro and wait for somebody. I invented my own way of doing things. So here's what I do, is I take whatever, I'll outline this on acetate. Never use tracing paper.
Okay.
Because you can't see through it.
Yeah.
But I'll do it, I'll take a Sigma pen or whatever and trace off, would you get exactly what you want of the edges of like him, the green areas, say, and I'll cut it out of paper, and then I'll flip it over and I'll put rubber cement. You know rubber cement? Okay, but I won't use rubber cement. I'll use the one coat. Let it dry. So when I cut it, I'll put it on there, and that's how I use it as a stencil. And I can keep, when I'm airbrushing, I can keep so it doesn't get soaking wet. You have the paper on the side, and I also have a dryer that I can dry the paint real quick. That's how so what I do in this one is I cut the stencil of it, and so it doesn't spray all. It doesn't spray all over the place. I got it all masked off with it because I don't spray white. It's not. Have you ever used an airbrush? Anybody?
I think I've tried.
Okay.
Yeah. Not in any level of earnestness.
But I've known how to. You got to keep your paint thin. It's very anal. And you got to keep it clean because you're using acrylics. Anyway, so what I did of this is I sprayed it in the green, but I had it traced off. I had it penciled in the scales of what kind of where I wanted it.
Yeah.
And but I didn't want to get too crazy and add too much lead, on it, so I didn't have to erase it or needed to erase it and kind of get rid of it. So what I did is I sprayed it, kind of know where I wanted to go. Because I had, and then what I did is I took a little electric eraser. It's like a battery operated little. It's got a little thing, and I started nicking off all the color, gradually nicking off in where I wanted all the color, and then I started going all the way back in perspective and whatever. And then if it came out too light or whatever, spray it again. Tints of colors, and that's how I did that. And then gradually I added more the detail with Prismacolor. The final thing when I'm all done, if you can blow that up. So see this right here? So all that's done, all the detail, then I sprayed over that to add the roundness to it.
Okay.
Just all tints of color with the airbrush. You can't start getting in there with opaque paint because you knock out all your stuff. So there's the trick, The other thing I started when I started studying tortoises. Who studied tortoises? So my reference that I had, because I think Mark Pennington had it, all the detail, all those wrinkles and stuff going this way around, and actually they all go up and down.
Right.
Like they could do vertical lines. So that I did all with colored pencil, and then the missiles I did with it. I did it with the airbrushing and stuff. And I have a jewelry background, so I know how to make it. And Carson loves it when I do metal because I can make it metallic.
You tend to tackle each element at a time.
Yeah.
Sort of let it dry, step back.
Absolutely. But it's all, and as you're doing it, that's why I said improvisationally, I don't know what's happening, but I can correct it with acrylics. I can correct it. So if if missile doesn't work out right, these were making me crazy on the other side, on the perspective side, this over here. But the tails, that's why I could have called Mark on that, because I couldn't figure out what the hell he's doing. On the tails of the missiles, it's like, well, where do you want them? You know what I mean? There wasn't so I made it up. So I don't know what I'm doing as I'm doing it. But the thing of it is, with acrylics and knowing painting, I can correct it. But I could do that. People would be sticking pin in their eye, watching me kind of have to correct all the time. Actually, and watching.
I know.
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, let's go down here and I'll explain this one to you. So this guy here, Clanker, which is, so they wanted Bruce Lee's, Brandon Lee as model. But all you're seeing is the nose and the mouth. So what I did, I started seeing Keanu Reeves on Facebook. And he looks great. He poses like, with dogs and I don't know. He looks great. Anyway, he had the glasses on, the sunglasses. So I said, I'm going to just use him. So I did that the same way. I traced off his face and put it on, and that's how I transfer it onto the board where I'm working. I'll tell you another one that I do with how I transfer it on the board. I don't do it like any magic. I don't do it freehand, but I'll trace it off, get it on a paper, the whole figure mostly, to get it on an illustration board. I'll rub. It's really old, and almost dinosaur-ish. So I flip it over, and I use a very thin, not a soft 3B lead pencil and scribble. It's old, isn't that? I mean, you screw around with it when you're a kid, kind of doing it. I scribble on the back, and get it, send it back on, put register marks on the piece of paper, so if I move it, I'll know where I'm going to go. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's how I transfer it. That's it. You got it. Yeah. We're all set. Thank you.
just like we used to do at school.
And I was saying about, I should have asked Mark about that one, because the hat, I couldn't find, I had to look up reference. I said, where is it? I wanted to look up better reference of the hat, of all the foliage and stuff. He had it already drawn out pretty nice.
Because his helmet, it looks kind of like a tortoise.
Yeah, but if you don't do it right, it's going to look like a millinery hat from 1950s. If you know what I mean. So yeah. But anyway, so these guys over here, I kind of spread out a little bit to make it more, And then I would have loved to. I asked him, where the hell did he come up with this stuff? I don't know. I don't know where he does it. I mean,
it's a bit like
amazing.
A tortoise design on the armor, isn't it?
And so Carson, when I send him the illustration, so if you come down a little bit when you get the blast coming up his butt. He wanted, when I get to a point where certain times in certain areas in the painting, I go, it's pristine. I don't want to touch it. But I don't care. I mean, I'm used to doing corrections. Yeah. People go, whatever you want, I'll do it. But anyway, he came back and he said he wanted rim lighting on the inside on him, So I went back in. This is not the one, the finished one, because he's got rim lighting on his legs and stuff like that. So anyway, so that was that one.
And how different is your approach to working on the Operation Recall characters compared to when you're working on G.I. Joe? Are you doing anything very different?
I haven't changed. The only thing at Hasbro, which I do, is a projection. It hasn't changed. This hasn't think about it. If you want to work on the illustration board, you got to get it on there. Well, how are you going to do it? By freehand? No, you're not. So there's another way of projection. You can put it in a projector and project it on. And it's like years ago they used to have a prism. Yeah. It would make you crazy. And then Caravaggio did that. Because you got to think about how he set it all up in a dark room. I don't know how he did it. And then you know his work? Okay, Caravaggio, 1600s. All right, and he killed his lawyer, by the way. So he did, so he did the one of Christ and doubting Thomas. Thomas was pointing in to his wound on the side. That's Caravaggio, and he also did, but his black realism and stuff like that is just unbelievable. But what they used to do years ago is use and then it came to like a crystal where they use that kind of like take your image and see it from a distance over here. But what I do is I put it on. I haven't changed. So, but being at home, I don't have a projector, so I learned how to copiers, whatever, large and reduce.
Copiers to blow it up. But so these days, are you using a projector or
no? I just use it.
So you start small, blow it up.
Yeah, and if I have to blow it, I used to do they'll send me something. I'll do a layout and I'll do it on the small paper, its size. What would it be? I don't know, 7 by 10 or whatever, the normal paper going through, and I'll get that and I'll do it up. But then I'll start to blow it up, blow it up, and then start to work bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, I'll blow it up, and I'll use as a record. I have record of how big I work each illustration, so I keep it all the same. So it's all the same board, same stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I use.
Yeah, I was trying to remember there was a documentary by the magicians Penn and Teller, or just Teller, about they were trying to recreate this method of painting from.
It's very old-fashioned kind of
to do it.
So did you know Caravaggio had a knife fight and killed his lawyer?
Good grief!
Huh?
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, well there you go. There's a book out called Genius on the Run. So that's him. Anyway,
Tim's Vermeer. There's this documentary called Tim's Vermeer. which is where they try and recreate the methodology that painter Vermeer used.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Which
right.
is a similar sort of thing where
Right.
they're using light and projection to try and recreate what's in front of them using these clever methods.
Yeah.
It was a fascinating documentary.
That was all in the Dutch area when they started bringing. You know why they went to the Dutch area? To all the artists. No. The Reformation brought from Italy to there because all the merchants were over in Rembrandt's time, and they started using all the Dutch masters. Well, that's where they were getting their commissions from there.
Okay.
And did you know that Rembrandt,
Right.
his models used to pay him
Oh, okay.
because they wanted them down. You know, you ever see the Dutch masters painting? You got like a cigar box or wherever. You ever see them? You know, it's on the Dutch.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so that was that era of time that where they started getting. That's where all the commissions. From Italy to there. You know.
What was interesting on the presentation that you did at JoeFest yesterday
Yes.
was you talking about some of the little cheats you were doing, like getting the logos onto the paintings.
Right.
And
That's
using,
kind of like a wink, wink,
Yeah.
nudge kind of thing.
using
I didn't
the-
tell anybody how magic I was doing.
Like the 19
I have a
1980s.
background. I have a background in jewelry design.
Yeah.
And one of the things they used to do in the jewelry, in doing coins or anything like that, what we do, you do your sketch, and you know, and you do all the lettering and everything's in pencil, and so okay, so there you are, you got it all done on here. Well, how are you going to get it on? How are you going to get it on Strathmore? How are you going to get it on paper? So what they do, they used to have a copier. And have a copier and send it through the machine, and it would print. It would print on Strathmore. It would print on the heavy paper. It was a Xerox machine. But I used that process in everything I did. So, and luckily I found somebody, God bless them, that could take my whatever I was doing, images or whatever, and I almost like use a pay stub, do anything I wanted. And I'd bring it over to him and say, send it through on 2-ply or 3-ply Strathmore. And he would do it. A lot of these staples, they wanted to probably kill me. They would not let that thing go through and it blocks it up. But this guy would do it. Because I've done a lot of, like what I'm thinking about where it really started. I did a Mason calendar way back.
Okay.
And you know how many, you know who's Masons? You know who, I mean, you're talking like, well, I did Bird. That bird that on the North Pole, I did his portrait. It's a montage.
Okay.
And so I did the whole calendar of that. Arthur Godfrey, I did all different Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
But I had to do for the Mason calendar. That's one of the company that I was working with.
Okay.
What I did is I get whatever reference. Mozart, he was a Mason. So I get all those, whatever I could get, and put it all together, do a paste up, and then take it and have it, and then send it through the machine. Everything would be there, and of course acrylics you could kind of paint over it.
Yeah.
So I could add a
In
background
layers.
and whatever. So that's really stuff, and I do that now actually sometimes. I'll take it and add and do a combination of photography, but I'll get it and I'll just send it through.
So you're building up like the base image, sort of using
Right,
these
everything
different
is
things
there, ready to
in
go.
mixed media almost, and then
Well,
you're painting over the top of it,
Right.
so that you've got elements
Right.
left underneath, and
Like
how much
like-
you're showing, how much you're not showing.
like when I left Hasbro, I finished up using like doing Beast Wars or whatever I was doing for them, and then I had to reinvent myself. I did. So I went to a painting. So I was under huge contract with Barton Cotton. That was a company, and it's a fundraising company. So fundraising, I was telling you, Jeff, about green card companies. It's like you're better off if you get with them. You're better off selling pencils on the street corner because they don't pay. But fundraising is a different story.
Okay.
Very competitive. So they had big clients of like NRA, or National Geographic. So I have my stuff all out there, all the religious convents and St. Francis of Assisi. So that's what I did after that. But I all did, and they wanted, under contract, they wanted so many, so like the Last Supper, like in the Wiseman scene within a week, or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you do? I can do it pretty fast, but anyway. So that's why I was going with that. So.
Yeah, but
This is one of his designs.
Oh, that she.
Tell them about that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're looking
that's
at
Scarlet.
Ninja Force Scarlet. Here.
Yeah. So she works there at Hasbro.
Okay.
So
the face of
like
the face of Ninja
you got to
Force.
send me your face. Go, because I say to her, come on over to the photography.
Yeah?
That's when we're working in house, and I say, and actually she was good because she gave me this much of her, like when her arms and stuff like that.
Okay, so
I had
she's
that.
posing
Yes,
in
yes,
the
yes.
kind of.
And I say to her, make me a grimacing face, and she was great. She was
that's fantastic.
and so that's how that was done. I did that. I started doing that because when you're doing paintings, especially a portrait or with a figure, you need reference, and like each person here, you got to look different.
Yeah,
you got to come up with some face. So once you start doing it, it's like, well, it's gonna kind of look. If you don't, it's gonna look.
The
It's gonna
same,
look
yeah.
like me.
That's right. Some artists.
You know what I mean?
You recognize their face.
You know
in
what I mean?
their
Looking like Scarlet. You know what I mean?
Particularly,
right?
not Scarlet.
But that's true story, But so I grabbed all these people. So
Yeah.
that's when you see all the G.I. Joe figures, and you see all the different faces. They all work there.
Most of the people around Hasbro.
and
So
I
they're not
ne-
going to see you.
I never wanted to use myself because they'd go, look at this asshole.
Did you
I
ever
never
become a
did.
judge?
Never did. Religious, different story. I was Saint Francis. I was Jesus. I was Mary.
You were
Doesn't matter.
Mary.
I put the veil on. Don't matter. Just to get the pose. I'm serious. What else are you gonna do?
You had to shave
What you
that day.
I wasn't lucky like Rembrandt with the models would pay me.
Yeah.
I'd have to find it anyway. That's how you got to know how to work without all this.
And almost every single one of these, the file cards was a different person. Yeah, I was saying most of Ninja Force, you just see the eyes, right? Because a lot of their faces are well, not everyone.
But you still need something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Clanker. Like you got the glasses and stuff. Actually, I was going to show you.
I liked I saw a picture of the cutter that you did, the guy with the baseball cap.
Oh, okay. Do
you remember this?
How long ago was that?
Are you able to find
Cutter with the whale?
This is like cutter version 2.
Version 2. Okay.
With a baseball cap.
Yeah, this was for the drug
You gotta
elimination
find.
course.
I got a story with this too. This
If
is
you
great.
just click on one of them, and you can,
You're
guy.
good.
The DF version, right?
Oh yeah.
You did the DF.
Yeah. He worked there. He was a salesman.
He was?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I don't go. I don't. Matter of fact, bring up the drug lord. He worked there too.
You talking about
the headman.
headhunter?
Headman.
Headman.
Yeah, bring up that. I'll tell you, he worked there too. But I'll tell you how I built it. So he worked there, and he was the actually he was a constructor. He was doing buildings. He was doing the whole building, the interior building stuff. He was a bit of an ass, but that doesn't matter. So anyway, I got him in the photography and had him like pose, and I said, he can make great faces. I still have the photos of all these people. Okay. So I said, make me a grimacy face, and that's what he came up with. And then there was Photoshop was just starting to come in. So the photographer brought it in and started distorting it more and more. So that's how I came up with that. Then I said, I want to make this guy as scary as hell. So I watched the movie Exorcist, and because it always scared me, the eyes and stuff. So I wanted to make him as scary and that's how I built it. But that face, the head, was done. Obviously, they were all done separately, but that's my reference. The rest of it, I kind of like work myself.
Okay.
The detail and the hands, and that's all separate.
Yeah. And how did he feel about the final product with like the teeth and the spit?
It was like, yeah, he's probably still drooling over it. You kidding me?
Literally.
Yeah, no, he was great. Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite of the G.I. Joe paintings that you do?
Vinny DeLaver, I keep bringing up the Eco Warriors.
It's a great one, though.
You know, and we were just talking about that. He was great. Again, I brought him into the photography studio.
And was he like technically your boss at that time?
No. He was a separate marketing.
So it's
but
like
he would commission. You know, he was working in boys' stores at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he actually got me to work on Beast Wars.
Yeah.
So he was marketing person for that. He switched over, but he started. So again, I brought him over to the photography area, make me a grimacing face, and that's what he did. And then the pose, I think I mentioned it in the thing. The pose came up with Batman.
Yeah.
I found it we had licensing catalogs in the licensing area, and I had a pose of Batman coming at you like that. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to do it like that. That's where I get it from.
Sounds like maybe a Neil Adams.
And I was trying to use like more than like Hector or whatever. I was trying to get more comic book because they wanted it. Then they wanted to get more shortened, so that's what I used. Did you know that? You guys know I did Skeletron too?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is your illustration for Skeletron, right?
Yeah.
Is this? No. Yes. Yes. This is yours.
And there's this little story with this too. When I was doing the layout, I couldn't set.
Wait, is this Ben?
No, he said no. We want this jumping.
We want aggressive. We want it coming at you. Scared.
I said, what do you want me to do?
At you.
You know? I mean, it was like, okay, you want the foot up, you want it down, you wanted this. He was like, oh, yeah, okay. I kept doing it. Oh, did I drop it?
You're good.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna have Doug figure it out.
That's okay. You were a great art director. Come on, we'll work together. Well, no, we'll work together again. Oh yeah, But yeah, that's true though. I was like, what?
Yeah, what was I saying? I was saying, what's your favorite?
My favorite. I brought up Vinny DeLaver.
Vinny DeLaver.
What's his name? What's his name? The figure. What's his name?
Oh, Cesspool.
Cesspool.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
Oh yeah, and you were taking a Batman and you were using.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's kind of how I kind of like put it all together. But those are good tricks for somebody who wants to learn how to do, especially like acrylics. Somebody was telling me today, was just talking, because most people they take that tube of paint and they squeeze it out and they wait, and then it's done. It's dry. So, but I don't know. It's papers. It's called Masterson, and there's a sponge behind, and you keep it wet, and then the paper you soak for about 15 minutes or more, and then it just stays wet, and then you cover it. So any type of, do you know what I mean?
I know Masters.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, so that's, you get all the colors and blending and stuff. That's all I do is blend on it. I have all my colors mixed up in those cups.
And do you know the main Skeletron image with the Robo Skull, the one that's got the big posters and the packaging and stuff?
I was impressed with that thing. That was beautiful.
So that's by the Scottish artist Ian Kennedy. And his favorite material to work with is acrylics.
Oh, okay.
And his and he would build it up in layers, like use it up,
of course,
almost like like watercolors. So lots of very thin layers of paint to build it up.
You can do work that way.
And keep it vibrant, and it allows for more correction. So it's
right.
You can do it on the top. And
but if you get too anal doing it like certain ways, somebody says to you, that should be this. You have to change it quick. You got to get used to we're ready to change it. And that's what I'm saying about improvisation.
Yeah,
you got to get it on, make sure it's okay or whatever for what you want, your mood or whatever. To add shadows or this or that, shift it. Like I've shifted so many times. I like a shadow lighting up here, and it's casting a shadow across over here, or the opposite. Well, sometimes I'll put it on and I go, oh, that ain't gonna make it. I gotta get rid of it. So you got to do it quick, like that. Yeah. But that's why acrylics is great for that. If it was oils, forget
Yeah,
about
forget
it.
about
Right.
it. Yeah.
So,
And Ian said to me that one of his Ian Kennedy, the painter, one of his favorite tools of the trade is a hairdryer.
Oh, yo,
Because he's in paint.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
I was using a hairdryer, but I started using, and I'm like, I started like, okay, I'm drying I don't dry the paint because it dries so quick. So the other one the reason I do it is for airbrushing. And sometimes it gets on, and you don't know it gets too wet.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
then
yeah.
it will streak or whatever. No, what I use, tell him. You know the guy?
Well, he's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry. But anyway, they probably didn't have it at the time. I got a heat gun.
A heat gun. Okay.
There's no blowing.
It's less aggressive.
It's just
Yeah,
heat.
yeah.
So what I do is I keep it right next to me, like my gun. Over there.
Yeah.
Right, ready to. If I'm airbrushing, all of a sudden I'll turn it on.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And the heat gun, yeah, that's what I use. And it'll dry the paint.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
keep going. But the big thing is the airbrushing. And if you don't know how to use an airbrush, or anybody that right now, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
You're the man. Do you have Alexander? Do you have a favorite G.I. Joe from?
Shush.
No, I mean he's biased. So yeah, Alexander was the creative mastermind behind Shush for Operation
Yeah,
Recall.
absolutely, yeah.
And Doug, Doug was the person that has done the painting, and we've seen it.
That's right, it is.
Okay.
Did you come up with the name? Oh, wow. Okay, that's right there. It's like, yeah, that's bragging rights right there. Absolutely.
What can you tell us about?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the compound bow.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that to you yesterday.
When I was eating over there. Yeah.
I was going, where's Mark? I would have called Mark. He just told
Mark
me how
Pennington,
to. He
yeah.
just told me how to, what it does.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out. And I wanted to be correct, but I kept bringing up reference. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And the detailed sheet that he sent to me of the bow was like, hello. I couldn't get an idea. He just had, a vertical look to it. And you couldn't see the ins and outs of it. I couldn't. So I kept bringing it up on the internet, trying to figure out where goes what. And it's off center, which I didn't know. So it goes here, but all the compounds over here. And I didn't know what side the arrow was going on, so I had to make sure it lined up with that area. So the other thing is, like, every time I brought it up, those things are complicated. You know what I mean? They like the lines here and over here, and it's coming on. And then the other things that are sticking out, he just told me what they're for. They're weights, which I didn't know. So see this one here? Well, I just left it. That's a weight, but it actually is supposed to go that way.
Right.
So what I did is I figured, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I left it there in case. I thought maybe that would be kind of a scope to see which we. So that's why I left it anyway. But then, and the other thing that when I was doing it, I said, "What color is it? What color can it be?" Because it was, is it green? Is it this? So I like blue. So it's blue. But all this here, I kind of recreated the whole thing, and that ain't easy. That ain't easy, and also keeping it in perspective, so it's going that way.
Right.
And then I think the arrow goes on that side because it can rest it over there. And then he was saying how you can draw it back. You don't do the two fingers anymore. There's a band that you hold on to, which you don't see here. And the other one I was telling Mark about was this, which I enhanced. You don't mind
This blade on his arm.
Can you blow it? That's a weapon. And I made it even more of a weapon.
Even bigger.
Because I sharpened all the edges. And then so he had it kind of like, I couldn't see. So I made your weapon here, the weapon here. And this, that's a nasty weapon. I mean, for the Vikings, an axe was a nasty weapon. You had two of those, wipe out an arm.
And then does Carson have to then change the toy to fit to look like your
I don't know yet. Yeah, I'm done.
Joefest done.
I'm done.
Those guys can
Let it
worry
go.
about making it into a toy.
I just, because I think he sent me. Oh, what he does, he sends me computer. I've asked him one time because Troy does it for Longbow, and he did it. And he's like, so the weapons he sends to me, because they're like, you guys, you're a gun owner, whatever. But he sends it to me in certain perspectives. Like it could be a Kalashnikov. I'm doing a lot because he's got Russian shoulders. Let's use that as an example. But I got it in this mode right here. A certain perspective. But what he's done for me is he'll put it in computer and he'll shift it. He'll just shift it for me and then send me a print of it. So that's what they did with this one. But what it is like when he gave me a print, it had all these kind of like computer kind of like marks to it because he shifted it around. So what I did is when I looked at it, I go, I'll do my own thing, and that's what I came up with. So make it into a I've done. Carson likes my metal when I do metal reflections. And stuff.
Yeah.
So I had fun with that. Anyway, that's a story.
And you were in house at Hasbro, right?
Yes, I was.
You were employed by Hasbro, whereas Hector Garrido, he was like an external freelancer.
I was from Hasbro from 1984 till '99.
Wow, that's a good stretch.
I made it. Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
I was ducking and jiving all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like after a while, can I say this? I don't know. I'm going to say it anyway. So after a while, I had everybody saying it, and I learned from it. I'll tell you where I got the learn. We used to call it rubber pants time.
Right, rubber pants time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, and where I got that from. Are you familiar with tennis at all? Tennis. Well, Bud Collins used to be a writer, and he was a tennis, way back when, and he was a writer for Boston Globe, and then very witty guy. He said it one time, like McEnroe and Connors or whatever in the finals, last set. He said, "It's rubber pants time." Anyway, you guys can use that. You want to make a bumper sticker?
Yeah.
Anything like that. Anyway, so I used to say that every time, almost like every 6 months, maybe. So you never knew what was happening.
Right, there'd be a change, and who's going to get.
I think they lost their focus with G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know which way to go. They were going up and out of space, and they.
Yeah. They were trying to target lots of different markets and tap into all of the different things.
Exactly. So they didn't never knew.
Because we were talking to Mark Pennington just earlier, and he was saying, you had your Dreadnoks who were like Mad Max, and then almost the same time, you've got Battle Force 2000, which are a bit like, aliens, sci-fi.
They did Rambo too. I mean, that way back when. But I worked on every line. I worked on every line. Like I started with My Little Pony.
Right.
I was saying the reason I did it was because I became more. So it was between me and another person, a freelancer, that was doing My Little Pony.
Yeah.
And the reason I liked mine eventually is because of the airbrushing, because I could airbrush their rumps. Smooth. Well, the other painter, she was beautiful. She was a great person, but she would do it all in wash. So I did that, but I did everything else, like Visionaries.
Yeah, Visionaries. Yeah.
Flying Fighters. Do you remember Flying?
No. So much. Okay. Oh, Ring Raiders. Is that Ring Raiders?
No, that was a whole line of. It was all the jets, the Flying Fighters, F-16s, F-14s, F-18s, and I illustrated the packaging for each one. I did Monster Face. That was Goosebumps.
Okay.
I have that in my. But that was mine. Here's another one I did. Conan.
Okay.
Conan. Is it the right? Who's the writer? Edgar Rice Burroughs. Okay, he gave up the rights at the time to do, let it out, license it out. Or he didn't even license it, whatever. But he gave up whatever. But anybody could do anything. So Hasbro started minting a toy with Conan. So this is a huge product with the horse and stuff like that. A lot of fun to work on. This guy, and again, this guy works there.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. He was great. He was like, he was like, he'd come over and like, oh yeah, no problem. Everybody was very generous with their time. It's like I used to build up a reputation that I'm going to make you famous. Shut up. Come on, Goosebumps. It's always there.
This is the same Goosebumps that did like the Goosebumps TV show?
No, the Monster Face was, I thought it was a great toy because it's like, it was a face, it was a skeleton face. And then kids could add clay and then and to build a toy and put an eye and make it kind of, nasty kind of looking. Deep as crepe on a pickle. Anyway, come on.
You said earlier that you idolized Hector Greedo.
I do.
Right?
I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah.
What did you pull from him to use with your own art?
Mostly using the acrylics and to watch him do stuff. He's very quick.
Yeah.
Very impressive. He used to do the vehicles and stuff, and I mean, like, what? I mean, it was because I did vehicles too, but I mean, he was like, anyway, he was my hero.
Did you meet him?
I did. Eventually, I did. Yes, he came into Hasbro. Ed Morrow actually brought him in because he was a client of. He was under Mendola, the rep, Hector Greedo, but Ed Morrow had really started him doing them. He was he lived in Connecticut, and we had something in common because he played tennis, and so did I. But he had a court in his yard. So. But
at that point in time, when you met him, was he already your hero, or did he develop into your hero later?
No. I had to look at all the stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, and it was inspiring because once you see the originals, you have to see an original sometimes. You can't just get it from a reproduction, like your packaging. If you saw the original of that, it's like, wow, how the hell did he do that? Like he did the aircraft carrier that you can't have because right.
So that had been pretty exciting for you, right, to meet your hero at that
all
point in
of
time.
them, because I used to get illustrations from, because I've done Air Raiders, and there was like, you remember that one?
I remember Air Raiders.
Okay, Visionaries.
Yeah.
And they all were like New York great illustrators that send stuff in. And like Air Raiders was one, Paul Alexander, he did all the science fiction for paperbacks and stuff. Beautiful stuff, all gouache. He never used any kind of airbrush or anything. He came in, I met him, but I had to match his style. So any kind of like, and he worked on with gouache. He worked, they call it a wet on wet washes in the backgrounds and stuff like that. And what you do is you use a kind of a toothy, more spongy kind of board, and then you put on your color, and then you can blend, and then you can let it bleed, and and all that, whatever you want to do, and you can manipulate it. For acrylics, you can't do that; it won't move. But he used to do. He used to work with wood. He was great. So that was that line. And then Cops and Crooks. Anybody?
Cops and Crooks, yeah.
So I worked on that.
Well? That's cool.
I did and I did the. I don't know. It was a vehicle with everybody, like the road pig or whatever they call the guy in the back, and that's mine. So I did that one.
So
anyway, these people would have. One guy came in. I forget his name. Actually did Visionaries, and then from Visionaries, beautiful airbrushing on that, and so I had to match some of his style again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I see the originals and stuff, but his stuff was, and I ended up doing like for licensing, like a battle scene. I got it here somewhere. I bet I do.
And so, coming in after Greedo, were you trying to consciously try and make your stuff look, sympathetic to continuing in a sort of similar style?
I didn't build up a personality yet for it. You know, I had to keep it clean, keep it just like that, or you're out the door. No, but I knew that how to do it. But I practiced with acrylics. It's a different animal, and acrylics back then, they were like a lot of people would, and I know from people coming into like freelance and stuff like that, and I'd ask them, would you use acrylics? They can't use it because you squeeze it out of the tube. Back then, they've got a little more smarter. The Liquitex or Golden or any of those companies that make acrylics, they got a little smarter because when they squeeze it out of the tube, there's nothing you can do. You got to break it down. You know, that's why I started learning how to break it, because it's a goop. It's like you stick your brush in. What do you do with it now? And that's how and then so it changed. Now there's more liquid kind of things. And then there was one eventually for airbrushing, for airbrush acrylics. Yeah. It could be thinner, so it would go through. You'd think, but it doesn't. You still got to get very like clean. But anyway, But anyway, to see his stuff, I started practicing with that. So. Right. The Conan I wanted to say that I came up with is like I love Boris Vallejo.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's a hero there that I and he started like when Franzetta, do you remember him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you had first Franzetta, which is brilliant stuff. Very like loosey goosey, kind of like great stuff. Boris Vallejo started doing more stuff. He has the luxury of bringing in models with muscles and photographing. He used to use himself quite a bit. So he had a studio of with the lighting and everything that's like gold for an artist. Oh, like if I had that, I could make it even better. And that's what he did. I mean, he had himself, plus he had a studio, you know, all, with the lighting and everything like that. It makes a big difference. That's true. But no, Franzetta, no. He kind of like right on the top of his head. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he was.
It's funny. A lot of the people that you've been talking about that you admire, they were doing a lot of like the Marvel Masterpieces trading cards that I collected back in the '90s, like the Hillbrandts and Joe Jusko.
Jusko.
Yeah.
He's a hero of mine.
And the Hillbrand.
Matter of fact, I'm going to say, when I did, again, you kind of like...
And Boris Vallejo.
You kind of like borrowed... Hopefully you borrowed stuff from me, too. I borrowed it from him. When you see the one I did of Duke with the... and that was a comic book look to it. I did it for Crossroads. I have it on... You find it. I don't know if you can fucking find anything. Anyway, so but the Duke one with the American flag behind it that's done in more of a comic book style.
Okay.
And he's got the two guns pointing up in the air and he's shooting. And he's got his foot.
Yeah.
And he has. Oh yeah. Okay.
I think
good.
I know the
so
one.
Then he's stepping on. You know, he's got his foot stepping on something. That's from Junko. What's his name? Junko. It was from him from Punisher.
Okay. Right.
And he's on the hood of a car. And he's stepping on the hood of the car, kind of really mean and pissed
and
off.
And that was like a flatter color. That wasn't.
No, that was common. Actually, he did the cover for one of the Marvel, the more painterly kind, the covers when they were starting to do more like paintings and stuff, and put that on. Yeah, they were like special. What do they call them? Special kind of. They're not comic book. With the outline and stuff, so he would do some of those. Anyway, that's where I got that idea from. So what I did is I took it and then so he's stepping on a Cobra logo. So that's what I did. But it's very comic. The outline. So I did that totally different for that one. It's all done and how it's comic book. Comic book is very. You have one guy doing the layout for the page. You have one guy doing the black and white. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And then the other guy's doing the coloration.
Yeah.
So that's the three process. But what I did, and what I was lucky that I could do it, is I did the line drawing. Black outline. Yeah. and I did what I wanted to do in whatever he showed and shoot. I got really violent with it because I had shells coming. You remember it?
I think I can visualize.
You had shells popping all over the place. How I did it was I did it on black and white, and I did it on board. But then I made a transparency.
Okay.
Black and black. I need a positive of it, an acetate. And so what we had back then, which I took painstakingly to find out how Disney does this. It's called blue lining. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Okay, you take a negative and you put it on your board, and UV light, or whatever, which we had there at Hasbro, and you expose it, and then you lift it up, and there you go.
Okay.
All your outlining.
You've
Blue
exposed your
blue.
Okay.
That's how Disney works.
Wow.
All right. This is interesting, isn't it? Anyway, the background. And then what you do is you do your painting. What I did is I did the painting, all the colors, on the board. Right. And then you take pristine, the positive, and you can overlay it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll see, what was it? There was a place that used to licensing that painting out in New York. I'm not in L.A. I forget the name of it, but they used to use it for everything, T-shirts and everything. That particular one.
I was going to say, do you know the Frank Miller comic Dark Knight Returns? You familiar with this?
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay.
It's a really famous Batman.
Of course, yeah.
Comic, and I guess the way that it was produced is that they did the original black and white on the board.
That's right.
And then they took an acetate version of that with the black, and then underneath, Lynn Varley, the colorist, essentially painted all of the colors, and then they put back the black and white overlay on top.
You got to keep that black and white pristine. You can't screw around, and it comes out really nice. The one. So you have like the company that. What's the place out there? I forget the name of the company. There's a company that licenses stuff. They license it from Hasbro, but they're out in California. And every time I saw it, like reproduced, like everything, T-shirts, I don't know, everything. That image, I'd see it, and I go, "Oh, you screwed that one up." But what they did is they photographed with the acetate, or the lights creeped underneath, so they're off the one edge. It's like all screwed up. You know, it diffused. It got diffused. Yeah, it was like, oh, great. But anyway, that's how I did that one. Yeah, and they used that eventually for everything. But that was the time when I really got a lot of very violent. And I got very violent. But I got that.
I thought you were talking about your behavior. You're talking about your art.
Who was the one that did Punisher? Zek.
Yeah.
Okay. So I bought his comic books. You know, I still have them, matter of fact. The first 4 or 5 of his comic books. Yeah. Very violent. Right? Am I right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Very, very nice illustrations and stuff.
A lot of energy.
So I said, that's the way I'm going, whether anybody likes it or not. Seriously. Anyway, so that's that one. Anyway. It's nice to have all that background, how I had to build something like that, or be inspired, you know. Yeah. But there you go, Zek. Who would think? You know, we came up with that. So, but that's how I did Conan. I mean, Conan was Boris. So if you look at that painting, it has Boris a little bit in the background. I wish that line had kept going. It was a lot of fun to work on it. Yeah. Okay.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When you were working at Hasbro, when was your moment you're like, this is awesome? Like, I've just created this, and it can't get any better.
Never.
Never?
Never. No, because my boss was a pleasant horse's ass. And he was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And then Hasbro got, anyway, no, never, because I had to prove myself each time.
Yeah.
No, I never really felt
like a favorite moment.
Yeah.
Like, this is my favorite.
But because I had so much, you call it passion, whatever, I'm very competitive in tennis. Believe me, I've bit many rackets, tennis rackets.
You cannot be serious.
You know, you want me to tell you a funny story about that? Can you get that on the microphone?
You're John McEnroe?
No, I just went. I had an absent. this is gonna sound. Anyway, I don't give a shit. So I had an abscessed tooth, right? And I went to the dentist, and he said, "You need." And then he said, "Oh, you need a filling up here." And I said, oh, "Okay, well, it's really old, filling." So I said to him, and then I told him the story. Well, when I was playing tennis, I was so pissed off. I was losing the point a long time ago. I took the racket I got, and I bit it, and all of a sudden it cracked 2 teeth. No, I'm serious. If I went to the dentist, I'm talking way back. I'm not that violent now. So the dentist asked me. He said, "Well," I said, "I bit on a popcorn kernel." He said, "Well, how the hell did you get it on the other side?" That's a true story. Anyway, so I told the dentist that, and he kind of almost peed his pants over the whole thing. But anyway, where were we going with
He was talking about
violence?
He was talking about favorite moments at Hasbro. So even if
I never did. I never relaxed.
You never relaxed.
No,
it was a sort of a pressure cooker.
And because my boss everybody hated him, but me. He was a good friend. I used to have to tell people they hate him. I had to go over and calm them down and say, "Don't leave," because they were going to go to R&D. So well, you know what it's like in house, right?
Well, I know it's like when you get a
and he was an 8 to 5 kind of guy.
Come back to you and say, "Doug, this is awesome."
No, I never did.
Oh,
absolutely.
Come on.
No. I remember when I was done. He was a great worker, and great organizer and stuff, but never really paid a lot of attention to like everyday stuff, and never really he just wanted to keep it going. And I remember I did there was a mural puzzle I did for Milton Bradley.
Right.
And it had the shuttle that I used with the stars and stuff. Huge painting. And I used the same character.
This is the one with Falcon and Farstraw.
Right, but this was not the one that you see every vehicle. It was the one before that. It was a mural puzzle. And that was from Milton Bradley. And I remember I finished it all. He got me the commission on it. He got the money because I did it separately. And he hated that too because he didn't want to share. No, come on. He didn't want to share me with other departments.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a constant whatever. But I got to be you. And, I'm a competitor, like I said. So I didn't really, whatever. But I remember finishing that painting. Now, it's a big painting, and I brought it in because he knew about it. So that was okay. And I knew that, he came over and wanted to see it. And he was like kind of excited, but he wanted to take it out and to show it to all the other people. And so I said, yeah, take it out. Because he wanted to show it and try to let people know that I'm there. It's a true story, whatever. So I always had to reinvent myself there to do, and to go from one thing to the next. But anyway, so no, I was like, whatever. I mean, I don't even do it now. Like, hey, Tank I did though.
Yeah, you're proud of that one, and that's fair.
I am.
You're allowed
Damn it! I said, it was fun to work. Anyway, but that's fun. So people where you work.
So even if
you ever work for a jerk?
A few.
Okay, well there you go. I rest my case.
They come back and say, "Hey, you did a good job after all these years."
Yeah.
No. Right.
Yeah, and when things started to change at Hasbro, they got a little bit like crazy, and then he made me a direct report. I wanted to fucking kill him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're saving money in me doing illustrations, right? Oh no, it was a constant argument. So that started in about 4 or 5 years before I went. Because they were giving him pressure because things were switched. Because everybody hated. Oh no! So things changed and things. Then he made me like head of the department. I was senior illustrator. They had to give me names instead of just leave me alone and let me go. Okay, so that's answered your question too. This is coming back to me in the LSD flashback too. It's scary, because that's exactly what I was going through. Yeah.
Were you surprised when everything ended?
No, I was happy.
You were happy?
No, I was happy.
Because it was tiresome?
Well, it's money-wise. You're like, oh, what, whatever. The future. That was it. I mean, it was time for me to go. Yeah, it was time for. It had to change because nothing was going on. There was no focus. It was bureaucracy was building up, and everybody didn't know what the hell it was. And then I had to do these off-site meetings with my boss because everybody hated them. So I was stuck in the middle, having to go to these meetings because everybody wanted to like schmooze everybody. Oh God! I mean, and I went. And I used to bust the chops, you will get out of this. I used to go. I call it meeting mania. Don't bother me. Every time. Oh, we have a meeting today. Oh, great. I waste my time. I'm on a roll here. Right. This really answers you. I'm on a roll here with paint and this and that, blah, 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 whatever. So I had to go to a meeting. So I used to bust the chop. So they go through it. It goes through the whole thing with they got this person over here, and then we're kind of like working towards the end. I go, what was the middle thing? And then I get up and leave. Remember that from Fish Called Wanda? Right. What was the middle? No, what's his name that said it? The Fish Called. I got that. Yeah. Right. I go. What are the middle thing? And eventually I got real pain in the ass, and they kicked me off, and that was fun. Anyway, that's what happened. That's it. So you got that? I don't know if I should.
So
how can you add that?
It's all good stories. It's good stories. So maybe a lot of the Hasbro's memories, or at the time, was quite stressful. But in terms of the work, are there particular things that you're most proud of?
Like a kid in a candy shop. Mm-hmm. That was what I do. That's what I do. Yeah, absolutely. And I always felt that I could get better at it. Mm-hmm. And whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Was there a particular Joe piece that you felt there? I'm really happy with that one. I had a lot of fun.
I probably had a lot of them that I did. Yeah. I'm going, but I just kind of went along. I felt guilty to kind of like make my own. Because of my boss, really. Mm-hmm. Like I was kind of like being the bastard child, to kind of coming up with my own. I go, frig you. So the photography part of it was mine, and to take up the photographer, he was great, but to take up his time would bother him, the art director, to take up from other people's productions, because I was taking up his time. Uh-huh. So he'd give the photographer grief. Oh no, I'm dead serious, Whatever, anyway. Yeah.
You took up over after Hector, right?
Yes.
That had been stressful. Right?
After?
That had been stressful. Taking up after Hector.
Oh no, I felt confident. I always did figures and faces.
Okay.
And I was telling somebody today about. There's a guy he did comic book style, and he came over to me and he gave me a print, and it was black and white, and his figures. I told him, I said, "Geez, your figures are great," and I said, you should use maybe more, like paint, like maybe you paint and stuff like that. But I said you should. I forgot which way I was going here, but anyway, yeah. So, I was telling him. I said, "Where do you get?" And I was inspired. This is important. So when I was about in the 1970s, I was always good at with figures and faces and muscles. So what I did was I bought, which started the whole thing going, was I bought a book. And it was done by Vern Hogarth. I don't know if you ever hear of him. He did Tarzan years ago, and what he has books, Dynamic Anatomy. It changed my whole life. That is the key to everything that I do. I even have pictures of his book on my desk as I go along. And what he did was, at that time, there were no anatomy books, like Gray's Anatomy, and they were all I could never make heads or tails of. They had all it's on top of the muscle. They'd have striations of all, and they look like anatomical whatever type, very tight. But his stuff, you got to look it up. Bernd Hogarth, and what he does is he separates each muscle, and you could see it. So what I use his stuff all the time, and that changed my whole life. And so what I do now is I'll look, and that's how I measure, the heads and head sizes. And I know how big the pecs are, and where this and that, the serratus muscles. And so I know everything, but I know only because I can see it visually. Anyway, that was very key for me, very, very much. Yeah,
So,
the best.
Yeah. So after that sort of rough period at Hasbro and the exit, and how does it feel returning back into a similar world with working with Carson and Troy and Ben on these new projects after all this time away?
Carson's like, hello, thank you. Oh no, he's great. Oh yeah, I can't say enough.
A nicer boss, hey.
Yeah, and he likes my stuff, and I like his. I mean, and doing the first figure that I did with the carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his idea, and I mean, his passion with all this stuff is, unbelievable. And that big heavy book.
It was heavy, 45 pounds.
That's a weapon.
It's a weapon if you can lift it.
You could kill somebody with that. Anyway, yeah. So
True story.
No, it's and they're all nice.
Yeah, they're great.
Although,
they're great guys.
did you meet Troy?
Yeah. I know
Okay.
Troy.
So the story with I was doing Longbow. So that started that stuff, and then at the same time, Carson was getting ready to do Operation Recall.
Yeah.
Troy and John, they can get fussy. They get fussy, and that's okay. That's okay. So I do everything, and again, to measure muscles and stuff, I do it to like bicep, tricep, and to go along, and then to make everybody look strong. Heroic. But his first Longbow figure that he did, and which I kept doing it, and all the other figures too. All of a sudden, I'll get it, I'll send it out to him, or I'll take a shot of the painting, and I'll send it out to him. Can you cut down on the deltoid? Okay, so I had to okay, that's it. I bust his balls about it too. So then I just told him, I said, I was working on Cadaver. Oh, what's the one with the Special Forces mask that has a skull?
Operation Recall is what you're talking about.
Right, but is that Cadaver?
That's
Okay, well, whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
On Operation Recall.
Right.
With the
So I was doing him, and now I'm in that mode where I got to cut down the muscles, And then all of a sudden, Ed Morrow and Carson comes back to me, and he said, "No, this guy's bulked up." I go, "Hey, all right." So I was busting Troy about it. They wanted me to slim it down, more real people, realistic.
Yeah.
But they wanted me to bulk it up a little bit. So anyway, that's it. So
That's it. I think I've taken up enough of your time.
That's okay.
I need to go to the toilet.
I gotta get something to eat.
You need to eat. Yeah.
Hour 15 minutes.
So I'll just say thank you so much
Oh,
for your
thank
time
you.
talking to
Anytime.
us.
So that was BarCon chat with Doug Hart. A little bit different for this channel, a little bit less structured and a bit more free-flowing. Hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of background noise there, obviously, but I'm sure that didn't distract too much. Thanks to Doug. Thanks to Geoff Thornburg for helping out with the chat. Find Doug and his projects online. You can find details and images for Callsign Longbow, Operation Recall, and Skeletron. And if you want to see the beautiful images from his days at G.I.JOE, you can head on over to 3djoes.com to see more of his amazing art. Just, look at the file cards and essentially you'll see them. So more coverage of JoeFest to come, so keep your eyes peeled. But in the meantime, you've been listening to Talking Joe, an international podcast. Laters.
Can I keep your microphone?
Yeah, it's very nice. It lets us know where you are in the dark.